This video is going to show you a solo flawless duality dungeon. This is my first clear of it. So I'll be going through the run, doing commentary on moment-to-moment gameplay. The usual. This run is really long, so just bear that in mind. But I am still new to this dungeon. I've barely played it. I've actually only really done one team run, and solo practice I've had barely any. So just bear that in mind. But today, I got it done first go because of the loadout that I used. Done a little bit of research and found that this loadout worked out really good for the whole thing. So I'll show you the emblem first. So when you get your solo flawless, you'll be rewarded with the emblem Untouched by Opulence. On light.gg, the API tracker for items, it states that this emblem is owned by 0.38% of people. So that's a third of 1% of people own this. So that just shows you how rare this is. Now it won't be that. It'll probably be higher than that because it's not 100% accurate. But it is quite a rare emblem, and there's for good reason. But as I said, the setup I'm going to show you today is going to help you to get it. So we're on a hunter with Blade Barrage, Marksman's Dodge, Knife Trick, Solar Grenade. Aspects are on your mark, knock them down. Fragments are Ember of Wonder, Ember of Torches, Ember of Singeing, Ember of Ashes, Ember of Solace. We're pairing that with the exotic chestplate, the 6 Coyote, which gives us double dodge. Weapon-wise, we're using Hung Jury, a scout rifle, the Coordinate, a fusion rifle, and the exotic sword, the Lament. Other weapons I do swap to later on in the dungeon, which you should probably bring with you. A good, well-rolled legendary machine gun, like your best one that you've got legendary-wise for ad clear. Also, a good, well-rolled ad clear weapon in your energy slot, like so funnel web for me, that's what I used, because I'm going to swap off this fusion. And I also bring a Witherhoard. Witherhoard's really good at one stage. And bring a good ad clear weapon in the kinetic slot as well, because we're going to be swapping between the hung jury and submission, right? So, but any SMG that you really like, I'm just using submission because I really like the role that I've got. So that's weapon recommendations over with. Armor mods. Well, first of all, stats. Prioritize mobility, resilience. Right, you don't need to prioritize pretty much anything else. If you can get a higher recover than me, then that's great. My stats are messed up because resilience, Bungie pulled the wool over our eyes. They didn't tell us about resilience, then they changed. So I've got no resilience armor on the hunter because I never run resilience, but now obviously I'm going to start doing that. Try and prioritize resilience as much as possible, but you do need the mobility as well. High mobility. So armor mods are Armor Finders on the helmet, Elemental Charge, Loosened Blade to help with Lament. Scout Rifle Loader will change that out depending on the weapon. Arc Damage Resistance, Solar Resist, Void Resist. Powerful Friends to achieve 100% mobility. Sword Scavenger on the boots. Elemental Armaments to get solar wells via our weapons. Gives us Loosened Blade. Classy Restoration is the big thing that you need. If you haven't unlocked it, wait until you unlock it. Then start for the solo flaws, because this is the biggest thing for the solo hunter. So that's just a brief thing about it. There'll be more information about everything in the run, because obviously I'll do commentary for the whole thing. So that's the setup I used.
You arrive. Good.
So as we start the run, you'll just have to go into middle if you haven't played this. Not everybody has. Most people have. You just have to wait for some dialogue to finish between Eris, and obviously you've got Caiatl in middle, because they're hacking his mind or whatever they're doing. So it's just a case of you just got to wait for this floor to disappear, then you'll descend. Even though there's only 3 main encounters in this, the transitions between each encounter are quite long. It's the longest dungeon we've had, easily, just because of how it works as well. Grasp of Avarice is long, but it's nowhere near as long as this. So as we start, we're going to be greeted with a bell. That's the first mechanic the game's teaching you. The bells transition you between standard world and dimension world. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. That's what happens in Destiny when we're ever doing raids or dungeons, more so raids. They start to teach you as you go the mechanics, which they've always done this, which is actually a good thing for newer players and stuff. So that's the first mechanic, is getting around the bells, right? So in this room here, we just need to scale up. That's all we need to do. You can avoid all ads. You don't need to clear out any of the ads here. If you're getting hit a lot, then use your class ability. Remember, we're using Marksman's Dodge with 6 Coyote. Now, people are going to say, well, why don't you use Gambler's Dodge? The reason for that is because Gambler's Dodge is a longer cooldown than Marksman's. And Acrobat's Dodge, the new dodge, is an even longer cooldown, which means, yeah, it has Radiant tied to it, but the cooldown's too long. Marksman's Dodge is the play for this. If you want to have unlimited classy restoration, which it's not quite unlimited, it's not a 1-to-1, but it's close to 1-to-1, then this is the setup. With the 6 Coyote, 1% ability, you don't need Shards of Gahlran. I mean, it's nice to have Shards of Gahlran, don't get me wrong, and it would have helped me out a lot for supers a bit more, especially the final boss. It would have helped me out, but I would rather take, especially on my first clear, the 6 Coyote setup. It's safer. So this is, you just need to follow on screen the route. It takes a bit to learn the route. It took me a little bit because there's sort of multiple paths you can sort of go. It is quite clear though where you have to go though. There's ads here. We'll get a dodge just to avoid them. We'll get the restoration. We'll shoot this bell here. This will teleport us to the... Make sure when you're shooting the bell as well that you're in the right spots, because in the mirror world you could fall off map. And that's true for a lot of things in this. So just, you need to sort of know what the mirror world looks like before you're going into it. Which the only way of doing that is either watching a video or you have experience with the dungeon. Which I recommend before you do a solo flawless, you do a couple of team runs. I had only done one team run. I'd done one LFG run. And there was a guy showing me the way because I didn't know all. Like I couldn't remember every single caveat of where exactly to go. Once I'd done a team run, it was solid in my mind where I have to go at all times, where I have to stand, where I have to be. Then you work on the solo flawless. Obviously, I'd already soloed a lot of the encounters, but I'd only done these transition periods where you're going from one encounter to the next, like once or twice at most, right? So I wasn't 100% familiar, but now I am familiar is what I'm trying to say, and that's what I advise that you do a couple of team runs first, then you can build your way up to the solo flawless, because you're not just going to magically get solo flawless if you just one day you feel good you end up doing it. It doesn't work like that. Like I had only started going for the solo flawless the other day. What I had done in my tactics, because I hadn't played the dungeon when it came out Friday, I had started playing the dungeon late, so I was late anyways to the party, so it doesn't really matter to me. So what I've done is I just learned each encounter individually. So Gahlran, Vault, and the final boss, like I kept doing them over and over until, you know, not over and over, but I had 2 or 3 clears on them to say, right, I'm trained up on this encounter. Once you're trained up on all the encounters, then you go for the solo flawless. However, it'll be easy for you because you're watching a video. You're watching someone do it, right? On the strat that I'm doing, anyways. So it'll be a little bit easier. You won't have to you maybe won't have to be as thorough as what I was. But I was just getting familiar with the dungeon because it's the most expansive dungeon that we've had, and it's mechanically demanding more than any other dungeon. It's more raid-like than it is dungeon, but I like that. I think it's good. Just keep going this route. Grasp of Avarice was bad. A bad dungeon, to be honest. It was a good day one thing, but outside of the day one, it's like the loot's amazing, and that's what makes it. But apart from that, it's not on the same level. Like this dungeon, I would say this and Prophecy. Prophecy may still be my better dungeon, like a more favourable dungeon to me, but this dungeon's still probably the second best we've got, I would say. Maybe even the first, some people would argue. I just love Prophecy though. So this is the first boss, Nightmare of Gahlran. I've already made a video about that. That was on the Warlock, but I'll go over the mechanics again. So you've got the bell encounters. Now this is introducing a new mechanic where when you open up a bell and you go to the mirror world, you will have 2 standard bearers to kill. A standard bearer will drop a symbol. You can pick any symbol you want. Well, the game gives you the symbol, right? So you just pick up any. Outside, there's nothing to tell you that you have to pick up dog or sun. Not on this encounter. That is something for later on. For this encounter, you just have to pick up what it's stating, what's there. But don't pick up both. See, if you pick up both symbols, so you noticed before there was 2 bearers. I killed one, picked up the staff. The other one I killed. You do kill the bearer, but you don't pick up the staff because the staff or the symbol won't despawn, which means you can pick it up later. But then that also means that you get a bearer for DPS, which means you give you more time, which I'll explain when we get to. What I also recommend doing is clearing a bit of ads in the mirror world. Keep on top of it. Get the ads a little bit low because we're not on well. You don't want too many ads. I mean, a couple of ads on boss damage isn't a big deal, man. You've got restoration and stuff, but you don't want too many ads there because you could still die. So just keep on top of it. You've got that extra couple of seconds to do so. So we'll dunk on War Beast, or Dogs, should I say. Every time you get a dunk, this is how ads work here. Every time you get a dunk, you will get Legionnaires, the Legionaries. The Scions will just keep spawning up and up, so don't bother to try and, you know, clear them all out. Like, if you were clearing them for ammo purposes, which you see me do that a lot, then do that. If you're clearing them for getting super regen, you can do that. If you end up using a super and you're not meant to, then you can farm energy up here. You'll get a Colossus also every time you open up a door. Or most of the time, a Colossus should spawn. Now we'll clear out the bell bearers. Notice the door will open, so the mechanic is you go in the door will then shut when you shoot the bell from here. So we'll shoot the bell, then you'll get nightmares of the boss. You'll kill the nightmares, they will drop unstable essence, just like what we used to get from Shadowkeep, which is a buff. You can actually double it by using a glaive. I didn't go that route, I went with the fusion. The fusion melts all the Gahlrans and gives you plenty of time to do damage. We'll then also melt the bearers. We'll get radiant. Notice I got radiant when I threw my knife. That's why I don't need Acrobat's dodge, because I can get radiant via my knife. So I'm good for that. Now we'll pick up axe. As I say, always remember that you can pick up one symbol, but always leave a symbol remaining. This axe symbol was from the first phase that we didn't pick up, so we can now dunk that. Try not to dunk a symbol when the bell bearers are spawning in. You can bug out the doors when you do that. This is one of the bugs that's in this. If you do that and you bug it out, it means you're going to have to go inside and get another symbol, which can screw up your damage. So I'd rather just, you know, try to avoid that bug. However, it happens to me anyways. I don't know why. It still happens. The spawning of the bearers, the standard bearers or whatever, they don't spawn behind walls anymore. That got fixed. But this little thing of when you're dunking on a door and it's not opening, I'm not 100% why that is. Because you can still dunk you can dunk axe or dog twice on different phases, just not on the same, as far as I'm aware. So I don't know why it's happening to me. It's just randomly doing that. But I think when the bell bearers are spawning in, when you dunk, it spawns in a Colossus, and I think the Colossus and the bearer bug each other out. But as I said, it can still happen anyway, so hopefully it doesn't happen. That is quite annoying. We're just clearing out some of these ads here. We're ready for the DPS phase, so this is phase 2. There's 2 phases per phase of damage, so this is phase 2. This is where we're going to actually do damage. So we'll be spawning in this room. We need to make sure that you get your bearings and know where the exit is, right? Don't just stay in this room. You need to push up a little bit, because obviously you get the 60-second timer. These Gahlrans will give you 5 seconds every so often. They'll give you a 5-second boost, but the big one will be this. You'll get extra time off this. If you saw my timer went right up, because I done the trick where I left a standard bearer alive, so we can get in for time. Then we'll lead with a Blade Barrage, do a dodge for classy restoration, so that the ads can't kill us, plus we've got healing off Lament, and then you just want to keep doing Lament damage. Now my Lament damage wasn't that good, because this boss, the tracking on him is just a little bit... I would advise not to jump. I was doing the jump hop. Try maybe not doing that and just do the ground Lament combo rather than in-air. Generally the in-air tracking's better than the ground. For some reason, I don't know why, it's not the case. But we've done okay damage, just around a third. When you get to 10 seconds, start backing up towards the exit. Make sure that you remember that the exit is the opposite side of where you came from. That might sound obvious, but if you go the wrong way and you've left 10 seconds, you will wipe. When the timer reaches 0, you will wipe, and that's your so flawless gone. So don't go too risky with damage, right, that way. This is a free phase. This ends up being a free phase because I commit to damage. And if you do better Lament combos than me and stuff like that, and maybe a better Lament build, like I didn't do supercharge and stuff, which I hadn't realised until I sort of started there and got supercharged on, which gives you extra stacks of Loosened Blade, which would have been more consistent for it. So try and fit that in the setup. So now it's just rinse and repeat. So this is phase 2, same thing. We've already got an axe to pick up here, so we'll do so. And then you're just looking at all the 4 rooms. You don't really need to know where's where, to be honest. Just check where the bear is. It's random where they can spawn. See if we can get a symbol here. So we've got dog there. We're not picking it up. We're just going to use axe. So now it's just a little bit of ad clear. You notice we've got 40 seconds, so we've got a bit of time. We'll do a dodge. When you confront it with like 10, 20 ads like that, just do a dodge to go on a rampage. Then when that runs out, because you got the 10 seconds, then you know, continue what you were doing. Obviously we're going for the bearers, which we use a machine gun for. Just watch the boss because he can knock you off map. That's something I've seen happen. Rare, but it can happen. I'm cutting the time short, but I'm pretty confident with this. If you're not, then just go head for the bell. You don't have to optimize to that degree for ad clear. So now we've got axe. So axe is down the bottom side of the map. Pretty clear. It shows you where you need to go. Axe and dog at the bottom, sun and cuppa at the top. You don't really need any little pictures to help you with this encounter. With the vault and the boss, I do recommend it. Or I literally just drew something up on a bit of paper and just, you know, like a square or whatever, and just write sun, axe, dog, cup on each corner so I can quickly glance at it, just to see exactly. So I'm looking at the symbols. It's like, right, I need top left and I need bottom right, or whatever it might be for the boss. Or for vault. For the vault encounter, you definitely need to, unless you've memorized it, which I have by now, but at the time it was just handy having something written down on a bit of paper just to say, right, this is exactly where I'm going, and then I can forget about it and just lay out on the ads. So what I'm trying to do here is get elemental wells. I have ×2, but I realised I didn't have supercharged on, which I should have done. So that's why I wasn't being able to get the ×4 stack, but that's okay. So we'll get the bell, same thing, nightmares. Remember, always head for the exit, so there's 2 there. The Scion has done his move, that's kind of good though, because he's shown me where he is. Make sure on phase 2 where you're about to get for damage. Actually no, this is phase 1. So it's phase 1, but there's a bearer there. So don't kill. Actually save that. Because it will give you a boost of time, but you don't need time right here. So we'll pick up dog. And also there's a bearer there. We'll do a little bit of ad clear. We're short on time, so we'll just. You generally are on the first phase because you're not clearing the extra nightmare and stuff. So we've got dog to dunk. I'm just waiting for these bell bearers to spawn in, because as I said before, there's a high chance when you dunk and as they're actually spawning in, that red aura, that the door just sort of doesn't work. So we can now dunk. I don't know if it's a door does bug out on me. It's not this one. When it pops up saying Gahlran's Shades return like that, then it's fine. We'll get a dodge here to wait for the Colossus. Then we'll use a bit of the fusion. Don't want him to stomp me. Back to the hour dodge again. And that's literally the main theme of this dungeon is using your class ability as much as possible. It's actually fun on the Hunter because the Hunters have been bad for survivability apart from Night Stalker. If you play on Arc Strider and stuff like that, or Blade Barrage when it was the old Blade Barrage, the healing on the Hunter was bad. But this has changed everything. This mod, it is very fun on the Hunter to play. That's why, as I say, I recommend trying it out. So we're on phase 2. This fusion rifle also has slide shot, which helps me so I don't have to reload it all the time, but I can always use Marksman's Dodge anyways, but it is quite nice. So we used a nade there on one of the bellbearers because I didn't have much ammo and I didn't want to start using Lament on them. Just wanted to quickly melt them down. We used our blade there, which wasn't the best because it's spread out amongst a lot of the adds. That's okay. We'll get our damage inks. We've got Keened active there. We've got plenty of time, 30 seconds. That's the deal breaker. When you get that extra bearer, you're getting so much more time to do damage. Whereas if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to do. It would be a 4 phase easy, maybe more for some people on this. So we're down to 10 seconds. The boss is pretty much just above a third. What you've got to realise though is on the final phase of damage that you do choose to do, you get an extra 10 seconds because you're not going to head for the bell. You're going to actually commit to damage and commit to killing the boss. I used was it before? I think I might have incorrectly used a blade. Or it might be on this phase I end up doing that. I end up using my super by accident. So we'll kill our fresh bell bearers, shoot the bell, and then we'll look for our next symbols. The further you go on with the fight, the more symbols you're going to have available to pick up. So I've got a dog here from previous phase. And then we're just looking for our final symbol. The symbol is actually behind me. I didn't pick up on the radar, but the symbol, the bearer, the standard bearer thing, he was actually hiding right in the corner. But because I couldn't see it at the time, I went for the bearers because there's no silence here at the bottom of the map, so it must be at the top left. I actually thought they hadn't spawned in or something, but no, he actually was. If you check on the radar right now, it's actually there. But there's no dogs, and that's what's caught me off guard with it, because there was no dogs. So we've got Beast. We've got a symbol left. Again, we'll wait for the bearers to spawn. They actually spawned in already. That's fine. If they're already spawned in already, it should work, but I think it is where the door bugs out on me. It's also a good thing to be clearing adds like this, because you need ammo for each phase. At least 50 sword ammo. Right? Plus we're on the final phase, so make sure that you got max ammo. So that's why I'm sort of doing a little bit of ad clear while I'm doing everything else. Open for a heavy brick. If you ran double special, it would be a bit more consistent. So there we go. As I dunk the symbol and the door doesn't open. So I don't know why that is, right? But we're gonna have to basically go back in and farm up some more symbols. So we'll do just that. So your standard bearer has appeared, so another one spawned in. So that's how you can sort of fix it. Just go back in. We got an extra spawn, one of them. They're both at the top of the map, but before we take them, we'll deal with these backpacks. Right, so we got Sun here we're picking up, and then on the other side of the map we'll kill that bearer but not pick up not pick up the symbol. Just doing a little bit of ag clear here. The knife's really strong. I think I must have already have a symbol over the other side. I must have done. So I must not have needed to clear actually. So it's sun. Before I dunk, that's another practice or a little bit of routine I do. I always take out the bearers first, so that you don't have to go out the door again to sort of take them. So it's sort of dealt with. You're just waiting on the Colossus and stuff. That's the Colossus spawning. Now, I'm under the impression that you're meant to get a Colossus every door, but sometimes you don't. Is that mechanics? Or what? Because it's confusing to me. It seems to be that you should get a Colossus every door, but sometimes you don't. Whether they're just not spawning in, it's not clear to me. As I said, I'm new to this dungeon, so just bear that in mind. There's some things I'm not 100% certain on, like little minute details like that. I know how the mechanics work in general, but there's just things like that. So make sure you're heading for the exit. See how I made an error. Make sure that you know exactly where the exit point is. So when you get Nightmare Withdraws, that's when it's time to come out. Now I thought this was damage. I think I used my blade. I must have just sort of forgot what phase I was on or sort of thing. So I actually used my blade and didn't need to. So I was like, oh, it's not this phase. But I guess it's an example of if you mess up with something or you want to use a super for the next, if you need a super for the next phase, then you have opportunity to do that with the infinite sounds. That's what made this run there's a couple of instances that made the full run longer. Mainly this fight and Caiatl. But that's the thing with this dungeon, is it's very punishing. If you get something wrong, you've got to repeat and redo. There's no sort of, you've just got to redo it over. I mean, it won't punish you with death unless it's the time thing, right? If it's that you've run out of the nightmare time, then that's a wipe, hard wipe. But just things like that. And the door's not working. That was a little annoying. We've got cup to dunk. I think right now I'm just farming up super. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just farming up super. I could have put on some mods, orb generation orbs for the masterwork and stuff to speed this up. I didn't at the time, just killed because it doesn't take too long to get my super, I suppose. But it's just a case of waiting on that. So I'll just let it play out until I get my super and then sort of continue with the commentary. So now we'll finally get our dunk. Now we're happy with our intellect. careful of these sounds behind you. Always dodge when a door opens, because then you get that health regen. It's actually safer to fight in here, because the Colossus and things... I mean, certain rooms are bigger than others. This one's actually quite big. There's a bit of cover and stuff. So clear out the Colossus, and then that's us. We're ready for damage. Right, we've got our suit, we've got our stuff. I haven't quite got my nade or my knife though, so I'll sort of I was stalling time a little bit for those, but for the most part we're ready for damage. We've got max on all our fusion and stuff. For fusion you don't need max. 10-12 shots is enough to deal with the nightmares and the bearers and stuff like that. So final phase of damage. It's critical, as I say, that you're as fast as you can, really. We got the sniper notice, so we're getting extra time. We've got 1 minute. I'll actually have above yeah. So we're now maxed to 1 minute. So we have a lot of time here for damage. That's what helps us to get a good 40% chunk off him here. So we'll scorch him first with the nade, then we'll do the Barrage, and then it's Lament. Then it's Lament damage all the way. We've got max ammo for it. We'll try and get as good damage in as possible, because obviously we've only got 2 stacks of Loosened Blade as opposed to 4 like I wanted. Just keep dodging, not constant, but when your restoration goes to, like, you know, less than 2 or 3 seconds, do the dodge. But don't spam it too much, because you don't need to dodge when you've got like 8 seconds of restoration left, because that's just a huge waste if you do something like that. But we're committing to damage here. I'm relying on the fusion here. I actually finish him with like literally 0 second left. If I had the Loosened Blade set up properly, then this wouldn't have been an issue, but I just got it in time. Anyways, that was that. So once the first boss is defeated, you're then going to be wanting to head to the next encounter, but before that there's sort of mini transitions before. That's a couple of little things that you need to do, because you could still wipe. It's not like other encounters where you just run into the next zone. You could totally just fall off map. There's all sorts of things that you can do. We'll put the scout back on, because for the sole purpose of we're going to be shooting bells. So I was worried about this jump. See, I wasn't thinking at the time, but there's a jump that's coming up where I knew I wouldn't make it if I didn't have sword ammo. If you're worried about doing any jumps, just swap the stompies for this section here. Like not this section, but coming up. Stompies is just going to help you, because you don't want to be wiping at a section like this, especially with how hard boss 1 and boss 2 is. You don't want to be wiping at little faces like this. So you just activate this switch, jump up here. You're heading for the exit, but you need to basically activate some switches and just follow the route on screen. Basically, that's all there is to it. There'll be ads spawning. There'll be phalanxes. Just make sure the phalanx doesn't boop you off. They spawn up when you activate the switch. So we activate. That will then activate a door on the other, the things off the wall, whatever they're called. And then you can pretty much see where you need to go from here. But there's a jump that I can see ending a lot of people's solo flawless. It's coming up. I had to switch to stompies in the end. I actually was banking on getting a brick of Lament, because I knew if I did mess up a jump, that at least I've got some Lament ammo. I could sort of make a jump. There's a quite an awkward jump coming up. So that's why I'm clearing a little bit of ads here. So if you're confused as to why I'm doing that, I'm actually waiting on a brick, because I'd never attempted this jump that I'm going to be doing without sword ammo. I hadn't really attempted it at all on the Hunter, actually, because I'd done all my solo practice on the Warlock. So this is my actual first Hunter run of this dungeon. I haven't done it in a team, nothing. It's my first go, so I'm happy that way. What I'm a little bit unhappy with is it's a bit on the long side, because I made a couple of errors, having to refarm up supers, messing up damage on Caiatl a little bit. Could have been a 3 phase, but it was a 4 phase instead. So those sort of things. This run would have if I was to redo it over, I would say I'll get it in probably an hour. Like a proper optimized run. Now I know what I'm doing with it, because obviously with this run I wasn't fully understanding it, like exactly, you know, playing optimized 100%. But that goes to show for the build itself on how good it is. So we're not getting any ammo that I wanted. It's this jump right here that I'm worried about. That one, you can see how far that ledge is away. So I wish I'd just followed that turn, just swap to Stompies. That's basically what you have to do. Because as I said, I was waiting on some sword ammo off some of these ads. I didn't know whether they infinite spawn. I wasn't sure what the deal is with this little section here. But as you can see, not getting any ammo, so it's kind of annoying. The next encounter isn't bad as long as you put on a good loadout. It's the vault encounter, whatever you call it. You need to prioritize survivability with ag clear. Boss damage, you don't need to sort of cover that so much. However, my loadout sort of covers that as well. It's just not so fast, you'll see. So we're going to switch it off to Stompies. Switch off 6 Coyote to Stompies. As I say, I was unsure because I would be kind of mad if I would die to a jump like this. I didn't want that to happen. But you can see you definitely need either Stompies or Lament. If you're not switching to Stompies, then you definitely need some Lament ammo. So make sure you swap. Just checking that I've got the right boots on, because I didn't have the right boots on. That's fine. Now I've got it. So this is the route that you take now. So this little room here, just remember the mechanics still apply with the bell. So if you don't shoot the bell and you're next to the bell in the mirror world, you will die. So you could easily die here. So this is the combination. It's 3-2-2. It's this statue. So you press it 3 times, activate it 3 times. I just think of it as 3-2-2. So 3 and then twice on this one, and then twice on the next statue. Then you'll then shoot the bell, but obviously you gotta be near the bell in a circle, because it will wipe you. So just, you know, this then opens this activates the elevator. I don't know if any other combinations work. I have no clue about this. I just looked somebody's run up and saw that that's what they did. I have no clue about that, whether there's other combinations, but that's just the one I've been using, literally. So that will then open that, and then we're on to the vault encounter. So as I said, we're going to switch our loadout. We're going to use Exotic Grey Launcher, Witherhoard, with Funnel Web, and the Void SMG, and Corrective Measure, Avoid LMG. Or if you don't have that, the best rolled LMG that you can think of. Mine's got subsistence, but it doesn't matter that much because we're using Marksman's Dodge. It's going to reload our weapon anyway. So just 7 Seraph Saw is a good one. The Stasis LMG is craftable. That's decent, but I wouldn't say it's as good as the ones I've mentioned, because the frame on the Stasis LMG, the frame of it isn't very good. Okay, it's not as good as maybe a high impact or the, I don't know what archetype the Corrective Measure is. I think it's like an adaptive or whatever it is. But the high impacts and the adaptive are better than the rapid fire ones. I mean, apart from 21% delirium, the rapid fire frame ones, they don't have much range and they're just not as good in general. And they're a bullet hose, in my opinion. So either 7 Seraph Saw or Corrective Measure. They're my 2 recommendations. I'm just changing a load of mods to match what I've got on. Finders is a big thing. Like, if I was to start this up with the wrong finders on, I just wouldn't get the ammo that I need. And that's a huge thing. If I'm not getting machine gun ammo on this encounter, then it can be game over. Like, you need to make sure you got ammo when you need it. Because this is more of a... You have to sort of speed run the mirror world now. Not speed run it, but... there's more pressure put on you as opposed to what we've had so far. So this is where I recommend that you draw something on some paper or something. Literally, I'll just explain it. So you've got the stairs. So looking away from the stairs, right? It's top left cup, top right sun, bottom left axe, bottom right dog. That's for the mirror world, right? That's that they don't change the locations. But what I always do is I always imagine the stairs. So that's your spawn, right? And then that's how I sort of think. Right, well, bottom left's axe. That's the axe room. Top left is cup. That's how I work with this. Whereas if you start shooting the bell and you're not near the stairs, then you might, because it's back to front, you'll have to process that and you might go to the wrong room. If you go to the wrong room, it's a wipe. It could be a wipe. In actual fact, if you go to the wrong room, just go kill the bell bearers, shoot the bell and come back here. Because it's the same thing. You've got the standard world and then the mirror world. So we're just doing a bit of ad clear here. We're going to get ready for the bell. So it's sun and I can't say sun and dog. So we're going to go sun, which is top right. Like I said, it's top right as from the stairs. Ignore those couple of ads, the Phalanx and 2 Legionaries. It's these ads you need to clear. So you need to clear these ads to spawn in the bearer, which then gives you the symbol that you need to dunk. So this is now telling you that you have to match the symbol to what was outside. So it's adding layers of mechanics on what was already from the Gahlran boss. This is what makes the machine gun so good. We will get time boost, so you get extra 10 seconds or so, just slightly more off the bearer. Remember to pick up the symbol. The dogs will be spawning. Generally try and do a Witherhoard at the floor, so the dogs will actually die to the Witherhoard as you pick the symbol up. Then you need to quickly problem solve which side you're going to. If the bell is not there on whatever bell, it's the opposite side where the bell is. So the bell is here, so the bell bearers are on the opposite side of the bell, right? So obviously we go to the opposite side of where that is. And then we can then get our dunk. You do one symbol at a time, obviously. I wouldn't recommend doing 2. It'd be, the timing will be very tight. We're going to kill the bell bearers here, just to sort of prep for the next bell that we're going to go to. They spawn underneath the section where the bells are. Ads will be constantly spawning. So this encounter is 6 symbols in total to dunk, but for every 2 that you dunk, you get a boss. It starts off with an arc shield, then I think it's void, then solar at the end. They're different bosses. The worst boss could be probably the solar one. To be honest, like I said, this was my first run with the hunter, so I hadn't really figured out where to do damage, because I'd done this originally on a warlock where I just used well and fusion nades and melted them. Whereas on this class you can't really do that as well, especially with my weapons and stuff. So we're going to, I believe it's dog. You can tell by the statue, but obviously you need to make sure that you know where you're going as you're shooting that bell. So just sort of think where you're going. Spawn kill the Colossus with the LMG. We're just using LMG the whole time. Don't swap to really any other weapon too much. As I say, you want to be efficient with your ad clear, making sure that you don't lose time. Checking which side it is. So the bearers are underneath here, so we'll use a bit of machine gun ammo. We'll also get a classy restoration dodge as we're heading for the exit, because why not? Just makes it consistent so we won't get killed by anything as we're going. Shoot the bell. Obviously make sure you're in that circle. Even if you're slightly out of it, it will wipe you. So just make sure you're very close to that bell. So now we can do damage. We use a blade and some Witherhoard. Witherhoard's going to be your main damage dealer here. Don't be spamming machine gun ammo on the bosses, because you need that for the latter phases. Unless you're prepared to stay here all day farming bricks, which you can do that. But prioritize just using Witherhoard, you know, your Scorch abilities and your super to take out these ultras. Just know as well you can be you can fall off map, so there's sections of the map where you've got to jump across, so just make sure you're aware of how this map works, where you can stand and stuff. Me doing damage under here is actually decent for this. I have found the best place to do damage though is at the stairs. If you play at the top of the stairs, the bosses will come to the bottom of the stairs. You can just do damage from them there. I didn't work that out until the end though, but as I said, it would be my first run. You're not to know. The boss is literally one shot. Even though it's an arc shield, it's not match game, so don't worry about you know, having to put like an arc SMG on or something. It doesn't matter. You'll take the shield down, no problem. So that's the first boss down, and then it's just rinse and repeat from there. It's just a case of going on and on with it. Now you'll have the Void Shield. He can boot you off map, so just be careful of that. Be aware of your surroundings, where all the ads are and stuff like that. Be aware of what symbols you need to get next as well. I think it's axe and something else. Try not to let these backpacks double hit you like that. If you just haven't got any buff going on with the classic restoration, then they can actually one-shot you sometimes. And if you explode their backpacks like I just did, don't be close, because that will also kill you and wipe you. So there's a couple of things that can go wrong with it. So we'll go for the symbol. I always, as I say, go back to the stairs, shoot the symbol, and then I never go wrong that way. I'll use my blade here, why not, just to sort of speed this up, because we're going to get it back anyways. Try to not leave the ads too much as well. They'll de-aggro and hide behind pillars. If they hide behind pillars, you'll lose time. So you've got to really play aggressive on this. There's no really, you know, playing slow with a scout rifle. That's why I don't use scout rifles in this encounter. They're not very good. SMG all the way, LMG as well. Witherhoard's really good because that helps you get a little bit of damage in on the ultras. I know it's not a lot, but it's better than nothing. A sword would obviously be good in this. The only reason why I don't use a sword is because the phalanxes. I mean, you could use a sword with osteo, so there is ways and means, but I just prefer the machine gun, because when you try and use a sword on the phalanxes, they have a tendency to one-shot. They can do a shield bash and bash you and physics you into a wall and kill you. I'm not willing to take that chance on a dungeon like this. So that's why, another reason why I pick the machine gun, right? Because DPS is DPS. It doesn't matter. You're not timed on that for these little mages that you kill. So it doesn't really matter which way. But what does matter is when you're in the mirror world and killing your ads, killing the Colossus in good time so that you don't wipe. As you can see though, the SMG and stuff works really well, because obviously when I don't want to spam my machine gun, then I can just spam funnel web, which is it's wrecking the ads. So the bell is at the top of the stairs. That's fine. We're going to get a shot on that in a minute. Go for the next symbol, which is axe. So axe will be bottom left from spawn. So that's where I'm going now. It's as I said, the phalanxes. I don't recommend you saw them unless you've got Lament on. But again, as I said, they can they have been known over the years just to sort of physics you. We're a little bit behind on time notice. Actually, no, we weren't on this run. But if you are, then just spam more machine gun than normal. Just checking which side we're on. It's on the other side, under the bridge. As I said, as the dungeon goes on, there'll be better strats come out. There'll be better variations. You find that you might not need the machine gun in time to come. You might get so well practiced in it that you'll just use an SMG for stuff like that. But as of now, it's the safest strat because it means that you're not going to lose time. So we use our super on the boss. This is the boss that can boot you off the map and stuff because he's a Cabal backpack or a bigger version of it. That's the death zone where I was on about, where you can actually fall off just there. So just be careful because that can happen. So we'll get a stun with our Void SMG and then just try and Witherhoard. Keep an eye on your restoration as well, as much as possible. At your timer. When it runs out and you're starting to take a bit of damage, keep an eye and manage your dodges. Don't spam them, but use them in good time so that you can stay alive. I suppose if this mod wasn't a thing, then Night Stalker would be the auto default. You would probably go the Night Stalker setup, or maybe you could go Liar's Handshake type thing, or Assassin's Cowl on Arc Staff. Talking hunter wise. But as of now, I think the solo hunter for the hunter at least is the best because of this. I think, just because of what you can do with it. It's basically like Devour Warlock, but even better, actually. Boss is pretty weak. Could use my blade. I'm close to it, but he's gonna be dead by then anyways. But as I said, I lost a lot of time on this because I didn't realise that you can actually just damage the bosses from stairs, where the stair spawn is. The only thing I would say about that though is, when you're fighting next to a bell and you're clearing ads, try not to shoot the bell by accident. Because if you do and you're low on machine gun or you're low on ammo and you don't have this, that, the other, you'll be spawning in the middle world, and you know, if you don't know the symbol, you maybe haven't checked or whatever, and you shoot the wrong bearer, you lose time. And it'll be a quick wipe. So all I'm saying is, don't let your nade do splash damage to the bell or something like that. You know, still, if the bell is open, the cure to that is, I suppose, don't kill the bell bearers below, but they get in the way as well. If you want to do map rotation under there, then they sort of get in the way, so I end up taking them out. So we're going to go for dog, bottom right. Where our phalanx is. The Colossus will slow you as well. Try not to let that happen, because it will cost you time, that. We just used our blade there just to speed it up. See how the bearer hasn't spawned yet? It's based on a percentage amount of ads. That's what I'm saying. Try to aggro the ads as much as possible. Don't sit back, because they will hide and you will lose time. And you're not going to get the symbols. And you're going to be in this endless cycle of you going in here and not getting your symbol and having to come in and out. And then that just ends up being more risk, and you end up wiping the run because of that. So you've got to, as I said, the more aggressive you play, the better. But you can on this class, because once you do that dodge, you can think of it as you can go on a rampage. You're not going to die unless it's a lot of fire that you're taking at once. You can, but it's unlikely. So we're on the last symbol after this, which is cup. We need to clear the bell bearers, I believe. I think we do. Unless I've already taken them. It's nice fighting down here as well because the ads will group up for Witherhoard and stuff, so you can get good ad clear on them that way. You don't need to be here all day clearing the ads, obviously, but clearing out some of them is beneficial for ammo and stuff. My ammo's pretty healthy though. I would say when you go into the mirror world, as long as you've got, I would say, a mag, so 70 bullets in this case, is just about enough to deal with the ads, Colossus and stuff like that. Any less than that, I would recommend that you farm up ammo, because the Witherhoard isn't going to be good on ad clear that way, because all the ads are spread out when you're going to there, so you're not going to get good ad clear that way. So we're at stairs. We'll shoot the bell, which is opposite side, of course. Cup, which is top left. Try and focus the phalanxes first if you can, because they're the most awkward. And then once you push up so far, I would recommend you take down the Colossus, because he'll just keep slowing you down while you're trying to clear the ads. So still no bearer up yet. Just clearing ads. This runs a little slower, as you can notice, less than 30 seconds. So you see you get the time, so it's enough time to kill the bearers and get back to shoot the bell for sure, but it is cutting it tight. That's what I'm saying. That's why we run the machine gun, because you just want to make sure that you're clearing the ads in time. I'm even going to use a blade here just to make sure that I don't wipe, because I didn't want to wipe on this run. So that's just an example of a bad run. Like I'm finishing that with 5 seconds, so you can see why I used a blade there, and you know, and stuff like that, because I was a little slower. The ads were hiding. It wasn't so much me, it was more the ads. I hadn't aggroed them enough. That's the final symbol. So then we're now to the final boss. So this is how you do damage to all the bosses coming up. I'll go eventually. I'll go to the top of the stairs, and that's the best place to stand. Just as I say, if that bell's open though, above it on the top stairs, make sure you don't shoot it. Make sure you don't nade your feet, because that's what some people do, especially with these types of grenades, like area of effect nades, when ads are coming and they nade their feet. But it could do splash damage to the bell, activate the bell, and then you get ported to mirror world. And if you're ported to mirror world and you've got 37 LMG bullets, you're in trouble, and you've got no super. You're going to struggle to do it. You know, you can, but you're going to really struggle. So that's the biggest danger in this, is yourself. Not so much the ads, not with this. It's just, you know, making sure that you don't do damage to a bell or something that you shouldn't. We're also mini farming our super. This is solar shielded. Not that it really matters. It'll matter more on master, because I assume there's match game on master difficulty. I don't know, I haven't played it to know that. But if it is, then I guess it's gonna matter a little bit more about what weapons you choose. Maybe you would swap to like an arc machine gun with a solar primary or a void primary, something like that, so you've got all 3 burns. Use our blade here. That's the mechanic with this boss. He'll always jump in the air like that. But eventually, when, as I say, when I do go to the back of the stairs like this, this is the best place to stand for damage and stuff. You will get nades and ads pushing up and stuff, but that's fine. Just make sure that you're taking them out. And keeping an eye on your dodges and your restoration buff. He's also a sitting duck when he goes up in the air like that, so it's actually kind of good. Witherhoard luckily won't do damage to bells. If it's a Witherhoard shot, well, it can't. I don't think you can do damage at all. So that's actually a good thing, because if it did, that would be kind of bad. Keep Witherhoarding. see how I'd done damage to the bell there, so that's what I was on about before, which, you know, keep doing that, you could actually have the bell activate. But anyways, that was the vault encounter, how to do that. I know it was pretty long, but that is a consistent way of doing it. So once we pick up our loot, which is a pinnacle drop by the way, I got Unforgiven, which I think is a void SMG, but once you pick that up, we're then back to these transition phases where we're just making our way to the final boss, but there's still a couple of little things to do, and as I say, you could still wipe here as well. Again, switch to Stompies, because there's a couple of jumps. There was one jump that I was unsure about, and as I say, I didn't want to... It's one of those things with the Hunter, once you commit to a jump, if you don't make it, you don't make it. On a Warlock and Titan, it's not the case as much. What they could do with doing is buffing the Hunter jump. Let Stompies do what it does, but there should be more forward momentum with it, a little bit more height. And I don't mean buffer mobility for it, but just its jump in general, because it's the weakest jump across all of them. The Warlock has a strong jump. I know some people don't like it, it's floaty and stuff, but you very rarely die on it. Plus you've got Icarus Dash, you've got stuff like that. The Titan's got the best jump in the game. Now I play all three classes, as you know, but the Titan easily has the best jump in the game. And they always have done. D1 they had the best jump. Apart from maybe Bones of Eao Hunters, which you could quad jump. Which they should bring that back. That would answer a lot of stuff. Just bring back Bones of Eao, which is much better than Stompies. I don't know why people always going about Stompies and it got nerfed and stuff, but I don't. It's not as good as what Bones of Eao was. Like nowhere near. So I think that's what they could do with bring them back. Maybe for King's Fall that season, whatever, bring it back, because the Hunter jump's lacking. There's a couple of encounters like in certain dungeons where the Grasp of Avarice is another example. When you're getting the switches at the very start, you literally can't make the jump where you get the skip on the Hunter without using Stompies and a sword. Whereas a Warlock, nothing needed. You can make longer distance jumps. Titans, same thing. You can use shoulder charge to get, you know, make more distance. The Hunter just struggles with jump and stuff, with certain things. So just follow the route on screen. I think it's up above me now. So as I said, it's just a case of following the route. I wasn't actually sure where I was going there for a minute, but there's ads over this right side. I'm just going to clear them for the sake of it. I just don't want to feel Lanks hitting me or the backpacks boot me off. So I'll just quickly clear them out. We'll be using Hung Jury for the rest of the run now, so not SMG. I don't recommend an SMG because the way I do it, at least, play from a range a little bit. So I think the Scout and the Fusion work perfect, and obviously Lament for damage. As I've said multiple times throughout the run, if I'd had times 4 Charge of Light, so Supercharge, which gives you extra 2 stacks of Charge of Light, that would have made my damage and everything better overall. I mean, a free-phased Gahlran, which on this loadout's fine. I'm glad that I've done that. But for Caiatl, I would have free-phased there, but I missed a bell. One of the bells I missed, I think. Or I didn't get the damage. I can't remember exactly what happened. Here's the jump that I think I'm sort of unsure about. So I'm going to swap off. Just swap. It's quicker anyways when you use this jump. Obviously, you're heading for the Red Aura room, because that's the final boss. This is a long fight for me, so apparently it took me about 35 minutes. So it would have took me a lot less, a bit less if I'd free-phased and not played as safe as I did, because I did play really safe, because this was my first go, so I'm going to play a little bit more reserved, because I was like, alright, I'm at the boss fight already. So I'm just thinking about getting that emblem at this point. I'm not really thinking about the video, and I was thinking, at the time, this run's really long, how the hell am I going to do a video on it? And it's kind of like the GM's same thing, where when a video is long, then you just try and make it work anyways. But this will be one of the longest videos I've ever made, I think. I think Proven Grounds was a long one on that, the solo GM. That was 1 hour, probably 1 hour 30, 40 type time. So this is long. But as I said, there's some things that happen in the run that could have went better, and I probably should have ended up with like an hour 5-minute clear. But again, it's the first run, the first solo floors on it, and things will happen over time. There'll be challenge runs done on it. There'll be runs done with blue gear, stuff like that over time. This is just literally the first week the dungeon launches. You're not going to be able to get everything that you want, you know, in terms of how fast you clear it and stuff like that. Some people are. Some people can speedrun it in 20 minutes on a Titan, and that's amazing. Hats off to them. It is quite amazing. So the mechanics are the same as what we've had. It borrows some mechanics from Gahlran and the Vault, but then it stacks in more bell bearers, so now it's 4 as opposed to 2. You also need to clear out the bearers that drop the symbols, and you need to get the right one, lest you will lose time if you clear the wrong one. So I also recommend that you draw something on a little bit of paper, like literally just something to say that like a box, sun's top left, axe is top right, dog's bottom left, cup's bottom right. Just because you can quickly glance at it, you can look at the symbols and say, right, this is what it is. Right? This is more for people who are new to it. Once you've done this, you're going to automatically remember, right? This is where this is where this symbol is, this is where that is. So we've got both symbols. We're just looking to dunk them. When we're going for our dunks, we want to prioritize using the restoration. But every time you dunk, you get an ant spawn, so you'll get the solar shields. I think it's 3. I think you can get 3 per phase or something. But it's a good time to clear them. I use my super obviously just before there. I think I used it on the Colossus or the Bearers or something. But if you want to do that when you're going in the mirror world, because you feel as though you're not going to get the time to clear the bell bearers and do everything, then use a blade, because you're going to get plenty of supers in this. Obviously you'll get 6 bell bearers in total in this room, 2 left, 2 mid, 2 right. Now this is where you want to sort of start thinking on which bell you're going to shoot to go in the mirror world. So to give you an example, if you get sun and dog as your symbol, that's not right now but just an example, that would mean that all your symbols are on left side. That would mean you're probably best off shooting left or mid. Now mid's actually really handy, but once you've shot it, right, it's closed off until you clear out all bearers. So I would reserve middle. I save middle bell for when it's an awkward symbol, because the one I just told you, sun and dog, is a good pattern. Because if you shoot the one on left, you're stuck to left side. That's great. But if you get a symbol like axe and dog on opposite sides, opposite corners of each other, that means your routing in the mirror world has to change, because you will get booped, the Colossuses will blind you, maybe both could blind you, and you could wipe. So this is what I'm saying, knowing this stuff in advance helps you out. What also helps you out is shooting a bell where on one of the perches where the sounds are going to spawn, so that way you can instantly spawn kill one of the sounds. That's going to save you time. In general, because you've got a bit to do, and I do recommend clearing out the Colossus, at least one of them. If you don't, then it's all Lament. Then you need to be doing all Lament damage. So we are ready for symbols. I'm just sort of looking at what we need. I believe it's dog and something. The snipers obviously will keep respawning, that's the infinite spawn on this. We shot left. What I'm going to do here though is spawn kill the Colossus. Notice that I nearly fell off map, so just be careful of that. So you can do this strat, there's multiple ways. So I spawn killed the Colossus here. Because we had back. So I had cub and dog, which is the two back symbols. So I knew that I needed to clear out the Colossus because he's going to keep landing you. Now I've actually forgot to pick up that symbol behind me, so I'm going to have to come back in here. I actually don't realise at the time. Things like this cost me time as well. Because I was short on time as well on this particular run. So I actually forgot to pick up the symbol, so try not to do that. As soon as you clear the Scion, pick up the symbol. So I've noticed now I haven't got both symbols. But that's fine. The run's not a wipe. It just means that you have to go back in there. Just bear in mind, even though you've already, like, you're doing 2 runs for 2 symbols rather than 1, you're still gonna have to kill an extra 4 bell bearers. So it's just actually more time that you have to spend with it. So try not to do it. I think this is the only time I do it, but it just. I think I might do it again. I actually can't remember, but try not to do it. Because it can be quite annoying. We're going to see when we're going in. Just getting some clear. See, it's good to be on the ad clear because this is going to give you a lot of ammo for later on in the fight. A lot of special, a lot of heavy, because you're going to need it. Right? So it's actually good just focusing ads and clearing them. And farming servers and stuff like that, you can. I wouldn't go on my next run. I wouldn't go to this extent of like farm and service for the mirror world and stuff like that. I would commit more to Lament damage with the bearers and stuff like that. I did go a bit over the top with this, which is why the run's quite long. But it helps me out in the end because, as I said, you get a lot of special on the floor and stuff. Right, so we're ready to go back in. I only need cup, which is was it cup or dog? Must have been dog. Yeah, so I just pick up dog. So I didn't need to clear the bearer. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I probably would have given me extra time. I'm not sure how that works because if the staff's there, if I clear the bearer again, do I get negative time or plus? I'm not 100%. I would assume probably plus. But what I chose to do for that as a panic is just lament everything. You get less time because obviously I haven't killed a nightmare thing, and just pick up the symbol. So we'll get a dodge. We'll dunk dog. And then that's that done. The bell is primed, so this is DPS. So what you can do is you can actually just shoot the pillars from back here, especially with this scout. It works handy. Just go onto one of the perches up here and just start shooting from here. What I would suggest is kill any bell bearers that are in middle, the backpacks. Try not to leave them alive. Like I left one alive there. Too risky that. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but we did get a dodge. So this is DPS. You instantly sword the 2 backpacks in middle, then you evaluate where the boss is going. He went this side. So we use the fusion, one shot the bell. I'm going to use solar grenade and blade barrage, just good damage. Then we're going to use a bit of lament. Then we're going to go to mid and then wait to see if he's going to go to mid. The snipers will be shooting you, but you can just do a dodge. He's going mid, so that's perfect. Because once the boss decides, he will go that way. Unless if you shoot the bell too soon though, like way too soon, it won't work. Which actually I do end up doing later on a different phase. So just make sure that the boss is pretty close to the bell, but not to the point where he's going to sacrifice on the bell, where he basically teleports out. Also be standing right next to the bell so you get the wake and resonance buff that will then give you the damage bonus. We're using a bit of fusion, so that damage is decent. What I've just done there, it's a third damage. It's decent. It's not too bad. If every phase was like that, I'd be good for the 3-phase golden. But obviously that doesn't happen only because I miss one of the bells. Careful with the snipers that they don't kill you. Then you'll get ported back to the boss. You'll always be ported back to spawn location over here. And then it's rinse and repeat from there. So now you've just seen one entire rotation of the boss. That's essentially what you just need to do. You just need to do this over and over. You will be great with a lot of solar shields because I didn't take them out from the earlier phase because I just went to the back of the map and went for damage because I was ready. I had charged with light, I had all the ammo. Obviously now I'm depleted on ammo, so this is the time to sort of start farming back up on that because you do need Lament up at all times. Like, not up at all times, but certainly for damage and certainly for the middle world because it's your get out of jail free card sometimes. The fusion's excellent for just taking out the bell bearers, but they do boop you. See, the sword will stagger them and stop them from booping you back. They can boop you off map as well. It's a thing that can happen. To give you an example, obviously in Mirror World there's 3 bells like there is on the outside. If you had left side, say sun and dog, and you're jumping from sun to dog, if the bell bearers are on that side, they can boop you as you jump over. You've got to wait. You've got to analyze that, and if that's a thing, you need to go for a middle. You can't risk it, especially with such a long fight. You would have to go through a middle, and then while you're sort of there, start killing some of the bearers. That's what I end up sort of doing with it. So now I'm just prioritizing some of the ads because this room's getting a little too much, right? This room isn't bad. Once you, like, look at the room now. Once you start to sort of clear it, it's not too bad. There's plenty of snipers, yeah, but they're not that accurate. You'll see, I strafing them. You know, you need to learn to strafe, and that's why I'm playing from back here, because you can outplay the snipers and stuff. So now we'll go for symbols. We're on right side. So I believe it was his cup. We'll blade the Colossus as we jump over because he's just going to blind us and actually slow us down. That's actually a blade that's worth doing at times. That's why it is sometimes handy having a blade here and there. Shards of Gahlran would work really well because I would have got far more supers, but as I said, that's fine and all, but you're not going to get the same survivability that you get on this setup with the unlimited classic restoration because I've got double dodge. You would still get plenty of it with shards, just it wouldn't be just as good as what I've actually got here. So it's a toss-up. Do you want more supers or do you want more survivability? And it comes down to you probably want more survivability on your first clear at least. After that, you can start experimenting with different stuff because obviously right now the LFG auto default loadout, if you like, is Lament. That's what teams are running. And it makes sense because it is just pretty much, you know, it's good because when you're doing damage the boss will stomp. If the boss stomps, which can stomp you off the map, I've had that happen with the Warlock, then you can sword back on the map, or you can do the guard with Lament, which negates stomp damage, right? You know, if I've got a machine gun on, that's not happening. If I'm getting stomped, I'm getting stomped, you know, so it's just one of those things. That's with this run, at least you'll see how good the scout rifle performed. I was impressed with it. Use any scout that you want. You can use Night Watch that has explosive, the one that's from Cosmodrome, like you get a god roll for free. It's got explosive and it might even have overflow. I can't remember what roll it was, but it's got explosive. But I have a better roll than that anyways. I've got the rapid hit explosive on Night Watch. If you want to use Night Watch, you can use that. There's some new scout rifles that have explosive, but explosive scouts are the best choice. Whenever you go with a scout rifle in PvE, legendary wise, The best scouts are explosive. They always have been. Like, forget multi-kill clip and rampage. All that stuff's trash. Explosive works in everything that you do, low end, mid end, and end game stuff, especially in GMs, which it's unstoppable scout this season, and 4 of the GMs this season are all unstoppables, or 4 or 5. The majority of them have unstoppables, which means we're going to be using scouts a lot. So start looking at what scouts you want to use. This is a top tier one. I don't think you can get Hung Jury now, but as I said, Night Watch is going to do a very similar job to what the Hung Jury did. So now we're going to go for left bell. So, I was going to. Actually, we're going to go middle. Change my mind. So go middle, and I'll spawn kill. It'll be dog. This is the awkward one. So I got dog, and did I get dog and axe? I think I did. So I actually bladed some of the bell bearers to speed that up. Because I'm having to go through middle like this, it's an awkward one. So that's why I actually had a super for it. The Colossus will blind, so just make sure you don't jump when he's blinded you. But concussive damp protects against those Colossus. Arc resistors as well. Then we'll go to middle, and then that's a clean mirror world. Even though the symbol was against us, because it was opposite ends, it was axe and dog. And that means you've got to take a different route, which means there's a bit more of RNG there. You could get booped in the air while getting sniped. Then the Colossus blinds you, you're dead. So it's an awkward one. That's where you've got to push with the sword, with Lament, for survivability. You've really got to push and spawn kill your stuff to ensure that you don't wipe. So now I just need to dunk what I've got, right? So we're just going to dunk axe. We've done that as well, making sure that we had a dodge each time. So we've got basically 20 seconds of immunity there for us. So that's more than enough time to get both dunks and then get out. This is obviously where we start fighting again from. I believe this is boss damage now. The problem with this is I don't have super, so I'm going to farm that up right now. I could have made the build a little bit better and used a super mod, or put like Font of Wisdom on and stuff like that. You know, I could have swapped mods out, or I could have used hands-on, increased super off melee kills, which the Nitric counts as, or Ashes to Assets. Ashes to Assets isn't as good because I'm not using a discipline build. But then I could definitely see hands-on being good, because you can get unlimited knives. Providing you get a kill with the knife on red bars, you keep getting your knife back. So I could have optimized to get more of a better super build, so I didn't have to farm so much. I mean, it isn't taking that long, but it's just every time we're doing this, the run's dragging out because of it. But I've basically cleared everything. Everything is done. Just one last solar shield, and we're basically super right now. We're very close. So I'm going to get on my perch, shoot the pillar like I do until the sound. I'm waiting for that audio cue. Then you need to run to middle and be ready for the 2 backpacks. Spawn kill these 2, then look at the boss. He's going mid because he's heading straight for you. Now I shot the bell too soon, notice. So that little error there has cost me. I can't believe that didn't count, but it didn't. You need to be closer than that. Right, we got resonance buff there. But I didn't realise I did. So this whole phase is broke. And it's all because of that one little thing. I shot the bell just a little too soon. What it was, I was behind the bell and I couldn't exactly see exactly where he was, and I didn't want him to sacrifice. So this is the phase that cost us the free phase. If I had just done this properly, then the free phase is easily doable. We've lost two rounds of damage because of that. Because of that messing us up. And he's below half HP, so it just goes to show how good Lament is, providing that you get your damage phases right. As I said, I'm still an amateur at this dungeon. I'm still obviously just learning it. Right, this was my first clear, but I suppose, as I say, you can learn from my mistakes. So try not to shoot the bell too soon, lest he will just say no and go to another bell. So now we just have to keep going with that. Be sure to check your symbols as well. That's the first thing you should do. A lot of this room's cleared. I mean, there's fresh bell bearers, which you want to start working on those first before you start thinking about symbols, about where you're going, I suppose. Well, you can sort of prioritize where you're going to go. So if the symbols are left, then take down the bell bearers left. But I do find the middle bell bearers, obviously, as you know, I don't use the middle bell that much, but they're annoying. So it's worth just opening that bell up. So, or getting, you know, getting rid of one of them, because they're doing a lot of splash damage to us. We're also close to a super, so I figured if there's any mishaps in the middle world, at the very least I've got a super for backup. That was my train of thought on the run, because as I said, I didn't want to wipe. The run was already long enough, so everything was safety first with this particular run. With the aspect knock 'em down, or whatever it's called, it's actually better than the Gunslinger's Gamble, or whatever it's called, because that one doesn't have as many fragment slots. So that's why I'm running the knock 'em down with the other aspect. It just means you've got more aspects, so there's more build crafting with it. The Gunslinger's Gamble is good, don't get me wrong, with the nade. But here's the thing with that nade, it's self-inflicted damage. It's like a huge grenade, it does a lot of damage, but if you're using it on a boss, especially if you're using like Lament, it's not worth it, because the grenade will kill you as you sword him if you stick him with that big grenade. So it's not worth it. That's why I didn't go with that fragment. However, sorry, that aspect, I do like it, but for this, when I'm using Lament on a hunter, I don't like it. I don't want to use that aspect. So that was just routine there with that. Pretty simple. Sometimes it can be more awkward than other times. It depends. Sometimes the Colossus can be aggroed on you as you pour in there. Sometimes not. Ideally, if the Colossus is not aggroed and he's facing the other way, then that's great, because you can actually spawn kill a bearer, avoid his first blast attack, move to middle or the other bearer, whatever you're doing, and then it all goes smoothly. It's just if you get that one or two errors, then it's iffy on time, and that's the thing, because you don't want to be wiping in there because of time or something. Because if you are down to like less than 20 seconds and you've got 4 bearers to kill, bell bearers to kill, then it's going to be tight. You're going to just have to spam Lament. But if you run out of Lament ammo or whatever, you know, if you're rushing it, not clearing adds, then you might not have the ammo for it, because obviously you're using all your ammo each phase. And that's why I did sort of clear adds the way I did, just to confirm everything with ammo and stuff. And as you can see, I'm getting lots of ammo on the floor. It's also good for reloads on your mark. I actually like it for that. You can see it gives proccing. There's a couple of Solace shields pushing us. We can also utilise our fusion. The fusion is very good, and obviously the Solace shields. So that was another reason why I picked it. Also, it's got Vorpal Weapon, so it does increase damage to all targets apart from red bars. So it does increase damage to bosses, orange bars, everything. it'll one-shot these snipers, which is ideal. Because originally I was doing this with a glaive on the hunt and the warlock. I was doing glaive machine gun, and it was working out good. But I don't think it's nowhere near as good as this. So even on the warlock, I'll probably do some sort of similar loadout for the first clear of that. Maybe have salvos because of how good fusion grenades are now. The salvo grenade launcher with maybe Lament, and then a good primary. See how that goes. Got our 2 symbols, so we'll get out. Obviously, we can't do enough damage to kill him on this next phase, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to do basically 2 more phases of this. So I won't do commentary until the very end. I'll do commentary for the rest of this phase and the damage, and then after that, I'll just let it play out. You'll see the triumphs pop up at the end, so you'll know that it's a legit clear and stuff, and I didn't glitch or cheese anything. I know there's a couple of glitches and bugs. Not bugs, but glitches. Sorry, cheeses where you get no ads and stuff. I haven't actually seen it, but at least you know I haven't done any sort of tricks like that. Which ruins the entire thing about this. It's like, why are you doing that? It's like, people are making videos how to do this, and you're taking away from what it is. You may as well not have that emblem in the game. You may as well have just drew it on your notebook and said I have the emblem. You may as well just download, go to Google Images, download the Solar Flawless emblem for this dungeon and put it on your laptop and say you've got Solar Flawless. That's how stupid it is. If you're cheesing this dungeon to get the emblem, it's silly. Stop doing it. And I don't care who you are and what content you make. Or if you are a content maker, it doesn't matter. It's so dumb. You shouldn't be doing it. It just ruins the whole thing. Because you're then going to wear that emblem, and people are going to see you and say, "Oh, look, he's a decent player. He's got that." But you've cheesed to get it. You see, and there's people who've done that, and there's people that's done that with the older dungeons as well. They've sort of patched it out, I believe. But just don't do it. It's a waste of time, because all you're doing is lying to yourself. Unless somebody knows that you have cheesed it, then they know that they've exposed you. But all you're doing is lying to yourself, so don't. Try and make the effort. If you main this game and you don't play any other game, make the effort to learn it. Because you should love the process of learning it. That's what I like. I like the process of learning something. Right? So, you know, but some people, I guess, don't like that. They just want the rewards or the loot of it, and that's it. So he's gone right side. I had a little bit of problems there with the bell bearers. They were sort of spread out, which can happen. But we let the boss stomp us, and then we got our dodge. So it was under control. We've done our first phase of damage, which is decent. That's good. It's how it should be. I'm waiting in middle to see if he's going to go middle. He's going middle, so we'll get our stun. We got our resonance. See, how is that one counted? So I'm watching that back now. On phase 2 before this, he should have been stunned, because that's the same distance as what I've just done there. So I don't know, but just make sure he's close enough, man. Make sure he's close enough to the point where he's going to stomp you like that. This damage is really good. It's a shame I didn't get it in 3 phases, but it is decent. But at that point I'm realising I'm not going to get it, so we'll go and wait for the boss to retreat. Don't do any more damage with your special or your heavy. You're just wasting ammo, because you will do literally 0 damage to him. Even though he is damageable when you haven't got the buff, it's going to do no damage. We'll get him on the final phase. So I'm just going to be rinsing and repeating from here what I've done for the rest of the dungeon, or the rest of this run. So I'm not going to repeat what I've just said. There's nothing else I can say about this run, because I've just done like nearly an hour and a half commentary or whatever. So I've said enough, as much as I possibly can about it. So that was the Solar Flawless on it. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.